Hi, welcome to Beer 30, a 5-minute series focused on the technical aspects of Secure State services. I'm Matt Franco, a management consultant at Secure State, focused on higher education as one of my select industries. Today I'm going to talk to you about PCI Compliance Management and building a program to manage the overwhelming and cumbersome PCI compliance regulations, specifically focused on higher education, but something that can apply to other industries such as holding companies, whereby you may have several cardholder data environments and several merchants that kind of act autonomous in their business functions. At most universities, actually, the structure is set up so that the Department of Treasury is actually in charge of PCI compliance, and then the individual departments are kind of on their own for getting out, setting up merchant accounts with different banks, setting up ways to accept credit cards, and setting up their own different processes within the larger university as a whole. Here's how we run the PCI Compliance Management Program. The first thing we have to do is perform an assessment. And the goal of that assessment is to understand some of the more common ways that these individual departments are actually accepting credit cards. They may use the same outsourced processor for submitting credit cards through online processes. They may use a very common type of point of sale transaction system, because we don't want to recreate the wheel. We want to be able to, again, make it easier for these individual departments to become compliant. So that first step is to work with Treasury and work with some of the larger departments to understand what are the ways that they're accepting credit cards, what are those business process flows, what are the third parties involved, and what are the ways that we might be able to reduce scope on those current processes. From there, we work with the Treasury Department to select, again, 2 to 3 different processes for the different ways that each individual department might want to accept credit cards, and go through an approval process as a QSA. So as a QSA, we look at the process, we say if it's set up this way, if you have your policies and procedures, you have all of the other controls handled, this process would be PCI compliant. And once that approved way of accepting credit cards is validated by the QSA and validated by the Treasury Department and accepted by the Treasury Department, it can then be pushed down to the individual departments. And those individual departments would then have 2 choices: either conform to the new business processes laid out by Treasury as approved by their QSA, or get separate validation from a QSA if you don't want to follow this process. Now, we work with several universities who have rolled this out, and what we have seen is that, yes, some individual departments are still going to want to go their own route for accepting credit cards, whether it's because they feel their way of doing things is unique, they want to try some new type of way of interacting with the consumer. Those are all types of things that we've seen, and what they have done is they've worked with a separate or the same QSA as the university has to get that process validated on its own. So that's kind of the way that it goes through, and then that way what then happens is once you set up that management portal, as Treasury, you will then understand that, okay, here's the 3 ways or 4 ways that we accept credit cards, here's the processes, here's the individual departments that follow those processes, and then you can start to categorize your business units who are completing these portals, if you will, or completing the self-assessment questionnaires, and then perhaps even select a sampling of each process and go out and do manual validation each year. And the benefits of this program, again, allow Treasury to be accepting of less risk because they have a better understanding of what is going on within the individual departments, and provides that centralized view of what's going on within the university. And that's all the time that we have for today. Just wanted to thank you all for tuning in. If you have any questions, please feel free to email them to info@securestate.com. Look forward to meeting anyone who has any questions and discussing the issues that you might have. Please be sure to check out our website as well as check out the State of Security for this month focused on higher education. Take care.